Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to our stream of Arms Race, the Cold War era, a new game out which puts you in the shoes of either the USSR or the United States during the Cold War as you attempt to turn the world to your block and drive the enemy into the ground, overthrowing their government, or just winning the support and hearts and minds of everybody. So far as the Soviet Union, we have driven the Americans into a financial crisis after driving ourselves into one, so both countries are recovering from that. The U.S. is mired in its financial crisis still. We are well out of it, or at least trying to get out of it and trying to get our economy back up to speed. Things are humming nicely at this point, and we've really got a big advantage over the U.S. in that terms. However, the financial crisis has basically caused a collapse in all of our military, all of our spy, all of our diplomat spending, so that while we may have the advantage, we also are kind of stuck in a one-track mind, which to my intention at this point is really focusing on the space race. This all was taken from a live stream just a couple of days ago. This is part 4 of this series. This will be the final part in this game. This is very much my first impressions, my first look through. So keep that all in mind as you watch the video. And with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and step out and we'll turn it back over to the live stream and we'll get back into this thing. All right, guys, hope you enjoy. It's typical for the game, or if this is just kind of a one-time I was really aggressive in certain fields and kind of drove the U.S. to spend themselves into oblivion, I'm not really sure. But I think it's worth keeping on in future playthroughs. Keep spending there. We're getting a nice economic boost there. We're still well ahead of the U.S. in terms of GNP. No one apparently wants to be our friend, which kind of sucks. But, yeah. Out USing the USA. I suppose so. Quick, tell them we have Star Wars defense. Maybe they've already spent themselves into oblivion, so yeah, our economy is our budget's almost double theirs right now. Something just happened with space. I don't know what. Oh, did we just launch? No, we didn't. I don't know what just happened with space. Anyway, so once we get this done, then we can start working on the Buran spacecraft, which we need to accomplish. But we've only got a few more things to accomplish. We're almost done the rocket done going down the rocket path, which is far cheaper, I'm telling here, than the ground facilities path. USA is spending money on military technology, whatever. All right. Ground facilities, we'll spend some money there, and then we'll go ahead and increase our economic investment. Both countries had a bit of a downturn that last turn in terms of economic growth. I don't know if it's equal, like the random percentages that your budget goes up every month. I'm not sure if that's the same every month for both countries. Like for the US and the USSR, do they increase the same amount and then it's just a multiplier based on what you invest? I'm not quite sure how the details of that work, but this is an interesting game that figure out to kind of learn a little bit about. This could be real-time or turn-based. So if I go to turn-based, I don't know how it works. I guess I just hit turn, which apparently each turn is 1 month. Or you can go real-time, so you can do either one. Turn-based would actually be appealing, because a few times I kind of got behind on keeping track of what I needed to keep track of. So we're not investing anything in launches anymore because we've maxed out that budget, it appears, I guess. Which I would have thought we need to invest in the Buran too. That's weird. So I got to the end of the rocket tree, and it automatically removed my launch investment, but I need to invest in the Buran, which, that's confusing. I guess we'll spend all of our money on that. The economy is chugging along okay. The U.S. is slowly catching up. Not so much in growth rate, though. They're still substantially behind in growth. They're just catching up in terms of, well, their growth rate's catching up, but their overall budget is not. Zirodinha, indeed, Tortuga. Actually, I'm going to take a sip of some vodka while we wait. I know this has probably gotten a little bit boring at this point. I'm not doing a whole lot other than just kind of waiting for time to pass. It was much more interesting when I was kind of wheeling and dealing and overthrowing the government in Indochina, taking control of Egypt, taking control of Bolivia, but I bankrupted myself through poor mismanagement of my finances, which have kind of forced me to play down a one-track road, if you will. Okay, let's see where our budget is. Actually, we cut our expenditures by a lot. We cut our expenditures a lot when the launch costs went away, but now it requires us to spend all our political points kind of buffing up the burn. So maybe you don't want to get too far. You want to really keep your ground investments here in line with your spacecraft investments, because if this gets too far ahead, then you've got to scramble to like start rebuilding stuff. They just did their flyby of Mars, so they just got this particular objective accomplished. So Spain has joined the US. I don't even care. I've given up that global game. We're still winning in global influence because we're so far ahead in the space race, which is interesting. I also think this game is interesting in that it doesn't end the space race at the end of the 1970s when you get the initial moon landings in the late 60s and early 70s, and continues on toward Mars. And I guess I never really thought about the space race still being an important political component to the Cold War during, you know, the post moon race period. But it certainly, I mean, the Soviet Union was spending a lot of money and resources on sending things to Mars and other activities, and they still did very well there. So I guess that's just an interesting piece you don't normally think about. All right, so continuing there, U.S. economy is still not recovering. And I guess as long as our investment stays in par with them, they won't. But it doesn't really matter. We haven't been able to capitalize on it. Hey, Tortuga, how do you change your font to have the Russian characters? Okay. Dark Prometheus, that's interesting. I never really thought about that. How is Khrushchev alive? I think when you pick a character, you stay as Khrushchev throughout your whole time in office. I don't have a good answer to the fact that Khrushchev being alive other than he's the character we picked. So they just launched some experimental rocket boosters, so the U.S. is trying to pick up in the space race here. They're trying to catch up. All right, we'll continue investing that 1 in GDP growth. It looks like that's what they're investing as well. Is this launch investment all going to go away, however, when... I just think I made that mistake again, because we're about to have the Buran Launch, which is the Soviet space shuttle. And there you go, all of our investment for rockets went away. Now we're going to need that for the Mir and for the longest cosmonaut in space, which is kind of the conclusion of the space race. We're into the 1980s, though, folks. We're losing heavily on influenced countries, but we're still holding our own in the USSR, and our economy is actually outperforming the US, so I guess that's good. We've got quite a bit of a ways to wait on these last ground facilities. These are expensive. The life support system and the Apollo-Soyuz test project are crazy expensive. They're going to take, this one's 47 months at our current investment pace. This one's 52 months, so years away. So I think next turn we're really going to start, we're going to put 2 into ground launch facilities to try and speed this up a little bit. We'll continue that 1% growth, which again appears what the US is doing, and then we'll bump this up to 12. I don't have any money to do anything else, like all these other events. Yes. I mean, we have money, but we don't have, like, money invested in other projects. Hey, we just turned Pakistan's government to our own. And we just turned Iran's government to being pro-us. And we just turned Central Africa into being pro-us. Well, that's going to start a whole bunch of civil wars here. We don't have any military forces in most of these places, so... see if we can support the Iranian Revolution. Whatever, we're gonna lose Central Africa. For the moment, we got a few points for turning some of these countries. Looks like we'll do okay in... Why does that say Venezuela? We just click on Pakistan, it says it's Venezuela. Oh no, that was an update that just occurred, never mind. So the US is trying to overthrow the Mexican government. I'm sure that'll be popular. We won the war in Pakistan, so they're now firmly in our orbit. We won the war in Iran. We lost in Central Africa, so as a result of losing that civil war, they turned on us and joined the US. Hunt for the Red October. That's an event. And apparently also the Tiananmen tanks. Okay, so space race is still going. Don't. All right, well, we got a few more points by having that conflict there. So all you can only copy and paste. All right, well, good to know. So the U.S. just accomplished their Buran space program. So they're a ways behind us still on rocket technology. They're actually on par with us with ground technology. I'm kind of ignoring military developments at the moment. I'm just kind of focusing on keeping the economy chugging along. Afghanistan apparently just joined the Western Allies, a new democratically elected Afghanistani government. With Western support, is going to win, it looks like. And America started a revolution in Mexico, but it looks like the local government there has sufficient forces to stop them. So Afghanistan joined the American alliance, fine. And solid, whatever. So all these events are hurting our ability to have influence in our blocks. Let's see here. Alright, so we've got money again. Still in the black, so I guess we'll keep spending 1% to continue growing our economy. The US economy is really kind of speeding up now. So I'm gonna take advantage of what I have, the time I have. What's this? August Putsch. 50 opposition and 30 nationalist influence in the USSR. Oh, great. Just great. So the USSR support just plummeted within our own country. So we may get overthrown before the space race ends. That's great. You can see her opposition support is very strong in the US, or in the USSR, which is our country. And Star Wars. Space technology is 5% cheaper and 3% global influence for the US. Still winning the global influence game. We're almost to the final ground facility for us. We've got, current investments at about one more year. I'm gonna invest a little bit in spies, mainly because I need to try and figure out how to stay in control of my own country. It doesn't look like I can spend money on parades in my own country. It appears there's a revolution going on in Argentina. U.S. is providing support to those revolutionaries. We've got a lot of money, though, interestingly enough. Our economy is humming along, so you would think our people would support us, but... Anyway. So, let's see here. We're almost there. We'll be there in a month. And then I think our ground facility research will go away, won't it? Right at the end of 1989. And it'll switch over to rockets, right? Yep, it will. So now we've got to go all the way back to completely starting over investment in launchers, which is going to take some time. But we've researched the final tree in our ground launch platforms. So now we're going to start spending on spaceships again. The US is behind in both of these, but only behind by a little bit. So if they manage their resources better, they may be able to catch up. Alright. I just held a parade in my own country to support our current government. Argentina, I'm not going to waste resources there. I'm saving my military strength, so if there is an attempt to overthrow us in the USSR, that we're able to counter it. Right now we're investing 1 in spies. We don't have any yet. Don't really care about the rest of the world anymore. What's this? Reorganization of oil market, minus 1,000 from USSR budget, 500 to US budget. Don't really care because we've got such a huge advantage already in terms of finances. We didn't invest anything, but we also have almost no expenditures right now. So you can see our budget keeps shooting up. GNP growth, the US is way higher, but total GNP, we're substantially high. Alright, so because we've still got that cushion there, we're going to go ahead and invest all of our money again in space launches here. We'll add 1 more spy. I don't know what the other events are here. Desert Storm, boosting Asia. Huh. Interesting. I wonder if we're going to force Crisis of the Elites in the US. I'm not quite sure. It looks like we're getting there. So yeah. I guess we'll see what happens when we get there. The US budget may collapse again. Alright, getting a little bit active in Greece again. We've got our money again. We're still about more than fine in terms of revenue, so let's pour all of that into space research again. A little bit over a year away from finishing this program and then jumping into the final program, which is not very much more expensive. We have a lot of diplomats. We can go around the world and increase our influence. It's interesting our influence is so high in Yugoslavia, and yet they're an anti-Soviet government. That's what I don't quite understand, is what is influence good for, other than, like, if I don't know, it's not entirely clear to me what influence is good for. Because we got a whole bunch of diplomats just sitting around. Anyway, we're almost through 1992. Let's see what our budget looks like at the start of 93, see if we want to keep spending everything on space. Yeah, we'll do that for 1 more turn. Alright, so we're going to get to the second to last space objective here. It looks like the US got a little bit too far ahead of itself, got its Soyuz, or got its last rocket developed, but they still haven't developed their last ground launch facility. I think we're safe there. We're also spending so much money here. We just accomplished the mirror, and we've got just 1 more item. I don't know if the game ends with us winning. Again, the campaign objective is to win the space race for easy difficulty, but I don't know if that means you also have to win the score race. I'm not sure. Crisis of the Elites. So the US just had the Crisis of the Elites. So the US gets a boost in firepower because of GPS versus GLONASS. The US also had that budget. Okay, so the US crisis again is having another budgetary crisis due to that event triggering. So even though they've had GNP growth, you can see their economy tanks again. They were catching up, and now they're all the way back down to nothing. So again, we're out-USing the USA, even if we're losing everywhere else. Okay, new budgets are in. Still got a buffer there, so we're going to just go all in on the space race. Yeah, Tortuga, I would check it out. This game is interesting. I'm enjoying it. Aha, we turned Yugoslavia. Of course, now there's going to be a war there, which we need to invest some resources in. Okay, so we just turned Yugoslavia. Wow. Opposition is crazy strong. People are pissed off in the US. We're providing military support to revolutionaries in the US. Why not? Let's do that. Let's support a revolution where it's borderline present day. Influencing, you know, new government in Venezuela, new government in Angola, and a revolution in the United States. Let's see, where's our finances? Why are we spending so little? Oh, well, we won the space race. So apparently that doesn't do anything? The game doesn't end when we win the space race? Huh. Would have thought it did, but either way. Let's spend some money on military production then, I suppose. So we can support these revolutionaries in the US. Maybe overthrow the US government. You can see here the US government has almost everybody hating it, which... Again, with back-to-back crisis of the elites is probably why. I don't know if our forces will survive long enough for us to reinforce them. We're building 3 per year, so let's go back to our budget and invest more in military production. And we're going to just pour all of our resources into our military at this point to try and win the civil war going on in the US. I think we win the game if we win that war. But you can see here it's running really tight between our own forces getting destroyed and our new forces being built up to replace those losses. It looks like we're losing this war of attrition. Now, I might be able to reignite the war once I've got a little bit more money going. I don't think the USA joins us, per se. I think their government just falls. Which I think wins the game for us. At least it lost the game for me when I was the USSR and my government fell. Okay. So... Victory! We overthrew the United States via civil war. Oh god. CIA, please don't come looking for me. Or NSA or whatever. You win! Why is there no Soviet national anthem? I feel like there should be. Okay. So now we can actually, you can see we can increase the difficulty to medium because we won the game. You can see here we accomplished the USSR easy difficulty. And now that allows us to play the game on a harder difficulty, which has a different objective. So the medium objective is to get 50 good scores. You need to achieve this mission. You need to finish the game with a winner with 50 or more scores on the medium level difficulty. So we need to have a 50 support. So a very different strategy. We need to focus on winning countries into our block in the medium difficulty rather than just winning the space race, which is what we're really focused on in the easy difficulty. I don't know what this thing down here, game started and wins. I don't know if that's only Iron Man, but now that we're on to medium difficulty, we can also play Iron Man. Now, as the U.S., we can't play anything but easy. We've got to play as the U.S. and win the space race as the U.S. So we won as the Soviet Union. We overthrew the U.S. government. We won the space race. At the end of the day, it was a great victory for us. But there's more to do. So let me know if this is something you guys thought was interesting and enjoyable. This is you know, a really small project. It looks like there's just 3 people on this game, and it's on Steam. They've got a less fully baked version that, you know, 2D graphics, less pretty, less polished, that came out a year ago, which was just the Cold War era. That's only $5 on Steam. They also have a $15 game on Steam, which is this game, the Arms Race Cold War era, which is a more polished, well put together game, some new features, 3D map, things like that. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of. I enjoyed myself tonight. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, though. It is kind of late where I'm at. I've been streaming for over 2 hours, so hope you guys enjoyed. But until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.